Hi YouTube, Rich with Spirit of Wild Wings here. This is a video response to a contest put out by Bushcraft My Way, and it's a discussion on knives. My regular hunting knife is in somebody else's vehicle right now, and so I won't be able to show that, but I want to share a couple things. We're going to discuss knives. Because one of the things that he's been doing over there is crafting quality knives, handmade. He wants to know what kind of knives we use and what we think of it. Now this is called a machete axe, and I like this knife. Needs a little clean, but as you can see, it's had some pretty good use. I haven't cleaned it since the last time. Now, it feels to me like a fairly soft alloy of some sort. I'm not really sure what the alloy is, but it's got a few ripples from where it's gone through and hit rocks and stuff, especially like here at the tip. Now, it didn't chip. I like the hand guard for this. It actually, and I have a fairly big hand. This part right here is maybe just a little large. If this was shaved down just a fraction, maybe a little softer where it would compress more in my hand, but all in all, this is a nice knife. I like it. It's for what it is. This is used if you're trying to work. This is a hybrid between a machete and an axe. In that capacity, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. Doesn't have any kind of a pommel that I can hammer with, anything like that. It's just what it is. The sheath that it came with is actually pretty nice. The only problem I have with this sheath is it has no way of securing this in, so it just wants to fall out. What I did was I took and actually used, not this one, but a bone needle, put a loop through and pulled through a couple things of this masonry line, which is like a 150-pound test. Excuse me. And then I put one back here as well. Now I can put this through, and it puts through here and pulls. As you can see, that holds tightly and retains my blade. The only bad thing, a negative about that, truly negative, is that I had to modify it to hold the blade in. This is my 12-inch cold steel Bowie. It's had a really busy life. As you can see, most of the spike finishes off. When working out at Camp Dean, I set my sheath down and promptly lost it. Now, the first thing happened when I first got it, it came off. By the way, this knife is a 1/4 inch thick, the part that straps it all. So I'm going to have to make a new one. I think that's just the way the universe is telling me to get off my butt. This thing has been through the mill. I need to sharpen it, and that's on the agenda for the next couple of days. Been sick and haven't done the things I've needed to get done. Not doing 100% right now, but wanted to get this filmed. This does not have that protective thing, so my knuckles are able to get wrapped if I'm chopping hard, and with something like this you're going to be chopping. But it's long enough I can easily stay back, so I can be chopping with this and keep my hand clear of what I'm hitting. As you can see by the end, it's very worn now. The end has been used for a lot of things, and it makes a really terrific digging tool. This is great for making Dakota fire pits, things such as that. You'll notice that my hand grips this much better than this other one did. I can put a lanyard, which I haven't done, which I ought to. So, I like this grip handle. My thing about it is my hand could slide up, but it's not likely to. Good grip for me. This little knife was one I had shown before I got at a yard sale. This was made in Japan. This is a very old one. This is what was chosen for. The alloy was actually chosen for the moon mission. So it's a fairly good. It's a stainless steel, but it's made with titanium in it. It's not quite what you might fully consider full tang because it doesn't go all the way through, but it goes through mostly, so it's full tang. 3 rivets is where you're going to give it away for full tang. I got it sharp. It was a booger because of the type of metal. It's very hard. Okay, things about the knife. It fits my hand well. This little grip right here will help keep it from slipping. And I've got plenty of room up here I can press. You can see that it's a nice thick blade. And you know, it's 3/16 of an inch thick. This is a heavy piece of metal. So the sheath doesn't, it's an older style, of course. It doesn't have anything that's going to retain it in there. This is an imitation leather, maybe? No, it's real leather. But anyway, this has nothing that's going to retain this in so it can fall out. And I will do something like I did with this one to keep it in place. Okay, you've seen this knife that I've shown before. A little problem with the way the closure went, and I had to modify that because the first time first couple times I tried using it, it stretches so hard to close it. We're gonna wait for that train. I can probably talk over it well enough, but not over the whistle. So the way it retains was a good way, but for me it didn't work because it was so tight. You know, it just didn't work. The sheath, I got no complaints about anything other than that. Adding the Velcro that I did, see how it pulls across. It holds that in securely. That's how I carry this knife. Keep it in the sheath. All right. Talk about this one. I like the shape of the blade. It's a very good one. You know, it's got that same kind of deal where it's going to hold. It's a fairly hefty grip, so this fits in my hand fairly well. I can cut with it and do everything I need to. Again, it's a stainless. This is a high carbon stainless blade. My only complaint about this knife is that it is camouflage. If you're hiking through the woods and you drop this, how do you find camouflage if it's invisible? You know what I mean? But otherwise I like the feel of this knife. Here's something I picked up recently at a yard sale for $1. We're talking old hickory. Now this, you can see there's only 2 rivets. This is not a full tang. But this is a French chef knife. It's designed to use with a rocking motion. It's not designed for chopping or heavy cutting. It's designed to chop. But high carbon steel. The handle is a little thin, a little light. It doesn't fit fully. But again, for what it was designed for, it works well. This could be modified and made into a knife, and then I'd want to put a beefier handle for my own use. I'd probably keep the spine shaped the way it is till the very tip and cut it down. Otherwise I'd be fairly happy with the size and shape of the blade if it was down about that long. The thickness of the blade, this is the thickness that you would have had in early days with the settlers. They didn't walk around with a blade this hefty. They walked around with a blade like this. This is another old hickory I got at the same time. The blades were very comparable as far as rust. I've been working on this a little bit. I've got the surface rust down. Has certain patinas still going on. I'm being very careful where my hand is. I had this sharp, you can shave with it. I sharpened the heck out of it. It has a beefier handle. Excuse my cough. I can hold it better. It's a little long for a knife in bushcrafting. If it was down about that long, it'd be a much better knife blade for it. You see a lot of things, people find a knife like this and they'll reprofile it to get that done. I may or may not do that. I do like the fact that I have an old hickory knife. I really like them. They're high carbon steel, and you'll find that a lot of people will get rid of these because, well, they rust. You can find old steak knives like this one that I use out here with my, gardening. It's a beautiful knife. It works really, really well. It's a stainless steel knife, so this thing stays outside all the time. You can see how rusty it's not. This one hasn't been kept outside. You can see how rusty it got sitting in somebody's kitchen. And I'll say this right now. I was going to bring it up later. You hear a lot of people talk ill of stainless steel. Stainless steel was not an available thing during the pioneer days. But let me assure you that if those guys had stainless, they would have carried this, stainless, over this, which is a rusty knife. If they could have had stainless versus rust, believe me, this is what they would have had. This is a nice fillet knife I got. You can see it's got some nice writing on it. This is a really nice steel, very flexible. It's a good handle grip, good size. Could be a little longer for my hand, but for filleting, this is a really good knife. This is not one that I would carry with me on anything other than, say, fishing. But believe me, this one would be a really good addition to a backpacking thing if you ever thought you might be fishing when you're out in the woods, because it can work for all kinds of purposes. This is an inexpensive Bud K copy of a K-bar knife. The stone is way too rough of a grit to do much good. I mentioned before I hated the sheath. That hasn't changed. Now, the stacked leather, awesome. This is a stainless steel blade. It keeps a nice edge. You can see that it's got somewhere, excuse me, this has been used a lot. It has this nice heavy pommel that I can hammer with. Okay. This knife, as you can see, when I'm talking about cutting them down, the blade is just that little bit shorter that I talked about. The nicest thing about it is it has this part, which, we're going to keep my hand from sliding up onto the blade. We could put some kind of other grip, but we want to keep, from having my hand slide forward. On this French chef knife, that blade sticks down far enough, I'm not really going to be able to do it. On this one, yeah, it's possible my hand could come up and slide up over and cut me down to the bone, For sheer heft, this is a good knife. I'm not a person who believes you have to have a big blade on a survival knife. That being said, I want to segue into my Bowie here. Okay. There's another handle grip that's a little oversized. In keeping with the knife, it's a good size. This is a knife that's heavy. It's sharp. It'll do all kinds of work. Look at the thickness of that blade. Okay. But if I do much work with this knife, I'm going to get tired. It's very heavy. Okay. This is not really a knife. This is a short sword. The sheath, it's nice top grain leather. It holds the knife well. Has a nice retaining clip. I like the design of the knife. I like the sheath well enough. I maybe would have wanted this down here instead of right at the end, you know, riveted a second time down lower, but that's a minor point, at least at the moment. If it dies, I'll change my viewpoint. Here's this little survival knife. Stainless steel. Okay, this one's been used fairly extensively. You can see that it looks really nice. Yeah, very sharp still. It's got a nice wrap that I can hold. My hand could slide forward if I wasn't careful. And I'm not going to put my hand in that grip. That's where I'm going to tie. This is where I'll tie it if I want to turn it into a spear or something. But I can hold it here if I need to put my hand there. Very nice little knife. With the additional feature that I have a bottle opener. These are only good that if I stab somebody, they're not going to pull it out very easily. I really don't even know what the purpose of this cutout is. The sheath, well, it was designed as a tactical knife. It was designed to strap around your wrist. Those things are off, and I'm all right with that. So on the knives, what do I think about them all? Let's say I was to make one like this, a Bowie knife. Whereas this cutout is here. It works like a blood trough to allow it to break suction. You know, if we made a little bigger or something, we could reduce the weight, but there's no way I'm going to reduce the weight of something quite this hefty. It's just going to be a heavy knife. So, what would be my choice for an ideal knife to carry? Like I said, I like this blade. Okay. And I like the feel of this knife. Now, if I can meet somewhere in the middle, have this blade just that inch shorter, I'd probably rate this as just about the perfect knife. Again, can keep my hand clean so I don't have to worry about getting cut. A little blood trough is great. I like the point that can be used as a stabbing weapon. I would probably want this configured differently and actually have this front piece to be a cutting edge as well, just for better purpose. I love the stacked leather handle. This is just a favorite of mine, always has been. When they get wet, they just actually seem to increase in grip ability. And I love this kind of a pommel that I can just hammer with, you know. But I'd have to say my ideal knife would be somewhere in the middle of these two. Like I said, that knife blade is just a little shorter than I would like. This one's a little longer. Take an inch off of here or add an inch off onto here, and I'd be pretty happy with it. And like I said, on this one it's not, and I would still like this to be sharp on this leading edge right here, just because if I'm cutting and I want to go the other way, I would have a little bit of ability. Okay, so that's what I've got to say about the knives. This is, like I say, been a video response, so I'll post it on this channel and I'll link it over. So this is what I think about my knives anyway. This one, which was a gift from my father, this is a beautifully comfortable knife. It really is. Just wish it was just that 1 inch longer. I can do a lot of things with it. I'd just like to be able to do a few more. Okay, that's a couple of knives, isn't it? Hopefully I'll be over this cold enough to get a few things filmed this weekend. And I will see you out in the woods. Alright, this is Rich telling you to get out in the woods, get yourself some dirt time, and I'll see you in the woods. Bye now.
change, they call my name and beckon, come, just like a moth to a flame. Child